Thank you everyone for being here today. Very good evening to all of you. We are very pleased to have Azra Raza with us. I'm very happy personally. To trace out why we are here, I think the journey begins about 20 years from now with a verse by a Urdu poet, Siraj Aurangabadi, who recited these verses, and I'm going to explain how that's linked to today's event in just a minute. So, unlike Azra, I need to look. I don't have any mistakes in reading. I have been corrected before, very, very pleasantly by Azra on this. So, there's a Urdu ghazal. If you know what a ghazal is, it's a poetic tradition in the subcontinent and in Iran as well, where we have verses coupled. Each verse can have a very different meaning from the other one, but there is a poetic resonance across all of the verses. So this ghazal goes like Khabare tahiyyure ishq sun, na junu raha, na pari rahi. Khabare tahiyyure ishq sun, na junu raha, na pari rahi. Na to tu raha, ना तो तू रहा ना तो मैं रहा जो रही सो बेखबरी रही. This goes on, and the translation for this is it's a tale of a lover's wonder. So when you fall in love, there's a bewilderment, and the poet talks about that bewilderment. So when I laid my eyes on you, I was bewildered. From that point onwards, you weren't you, and I wasn't I. It was just us. And just goes on. I used to read this poem or this ghazal with my sister, who sadly passed away 8 or 9 years ago. And then I found Azra's rendering of this ghazal together with an awesome explanation on YouTube. And I've been hooked, I've been bewildered as well since that time. And I've watched almost all of her videos, all of her lectures on YouTube. She's amazing, and I'm going to explain how, but you're going to realize that when we're done here today. So I welcome Professor Azra Raza to Warwick, and I'm just going to have some notes about her great accomplishments that I would just like to read out. So Professor Azra Raza is a polymath, like the classics. She's a professor of oncology at Columbia, but also loves poetry. And I think there's no other way of putting it except that she loves poetry. She has extraordinary career. She has had an extraordinary career. It bridges seemingly disparate words of cutting-edge science and the profound elegance of literature. As a renowned oncologist, research scientist, and author, she has dedicated her life to unveiling the mysteries of cancer while advocating for more humane and effective treatments. A revolutionary work on MDS, myelodysplastic syndrome, has placed her among the foremost leaders in hematology and oncology, and her reach extends far beyond the lab and clinic. Currently, the Chan Soon Cheong Professor of Medicine and Director of the MDS Center at Columbia University, Professor Raza has spent decades delving into the molecular underpinnings of pre-leukemia disease. Our innovative use of patient-derived tissue samples has revolutionized our understanding of cancer at its earliest stages, embodying her belief that focusing on prevention and early detection is the key to defeating the disease. Her meticulous research, published in over 300 peer-reviewed articles, reflects an unyielding commitment to translating scientific discovery into compassionate patient care. Professor Raza's brilliance is not confined to the realm of science. She's also a gifted writer, poet, and thinker who brings a humanistic lens to the often impersonal field of medicine. Her acclaimed book, The First Cell and the Human Cost of Pursuing Cancer to the Last, is a searing critique of the current cancer research paradigm. Combining the precision of a scientist and the soul of a poet, Professor Raza challenges conventional approaches while weaving intimate narratives of patients' journeys including her own personal loss. The book is as much a call to action as it is a testament to her literary prowess. A lover of Urdu poetry and literature, Professor Raza seemingly integrates the metaphysical depth of poetic tradition with the rational rigor of science. She frequently draws on the works of luminaries like Ghalib and Iqbal to articulate the ethical and existential dimension of disease and healing, reminding us that the quest for medical breakthroughs must never lose sight of the human spirit. With an intellect as vast as her empathy is deep, Professor Raza is not only a trailblazer in the fight against cancer, but also a eloquent voice advocating for the convergence of science, art, and, more importantly, humanity. Her life's work is a testament to the power of interdisciplinary thinking and enduring hope that through both knowledge and compassion, we can alleviate suffering and find meaning in our shared struggles. I think Professor Azra Raza's my impact on my personal research, the way I've interacted with her through her research papers, through her videos as well. What I see in her is a person who understands science and how to make it human. With that, I would like to welcome Professor Raza for a small talk on her literary works, and after that, we're going to have a sit-together chat, a fireside chat, and questions from the audience. So, with that, I'd like to welcome Professor Raza.
The title of my talk today is Rhymes of Healing, Bridging Poetry and Medicine. Poetry is a subject for healing. The language of poetry, the language of the soul, speaking truths that words often cannot. Where even silence finds voice, where a single couplet can describe an entire universe. The most important to me is that its power resides in its rhythm. In its rhythm, we find the heartbeat of humanity, touching souls across time and space. And then, of course, there's the quick. Poetry is not merely an arrangement of words. It's not just to convey ideas, nor is it solely an expression of raw emotion. Instead, it is a harmonious fusion where feelings are distilled into thoughts and thoughts are infused with emotion. The Scottish philosopher Thomas Carlyle described poetry as the expression of deep sentiments shaped by the intellect, embodying both feelings and reflection. It is this combination that gives poetry a unique transformative power. It conveys complex truths through an emotional and thoughtful lens. I begin by reciting this gem from apprehending. I had no time to hate because the grave would enter me, and life was not so ample, I could finish empty. Now, if life is not long enough for you to hate, then the next question she asked. I had no time to hate because the grave would enter me, and life was not so ample, I could finish it. Nor had I time to love. But since some industry must be, this little toil of love I thought was large enough. Because our life is not long enough to wait on love, the toil of love. This little toil suggesting something that requires active engagement, actual work. Love involves dedication, care, even a certain amount of struggle. The word little emphasizes the simplicity of love's gestures, small daily acts that carry deep emotions. I come New York City, I take the subway often, and I see a mother just sort of fixing her baby's hair and fixing the backpack on the side of the road. It's a small gesture, but the profound love of mother behind it. That's what makes this gesture so very beautiful. That's what this poetry does to me. And the word little really emphasizes this profound interplay between the simplicity of the gesture and the complexity. That combination and bridging is what you need. So you and I have both traveled distances to be here in this room together. Why? It's our shared mutual poetry of love for something that moves us. And you made an effort to be here. I made an effort to come here. And this joy of love is large enough. And that's what poetry does. Nasir and Prayas, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about something that I'm obsessed with. Poetry and its healing power. Not curing, but healing power. Now, cure and healing are related but distinct terms. A cure refers to the eradication of physical disease, a medical aid. But healing, on the other hand, is a broader process addressing not just physical recovery, but emotional, mental, and spiritual health, emphasizing the person's overall harmony and ability to live meaningfully. So healing can occur without a cure, since it's about adapting to a new state of being and finding balance in that state. Because I'm an oncologist, the distinction requires a very different meaning. Cancer may not be curable, but patient can be healed. To have the emotional strength to go through the process of a cancer diagnosis, the treatment that takes, to stare at mortality in the eyes, requires tremendous courage. One needs spiritual health to face the test, and poetry can be a tool for achieving this spiritual health. Its ability to evoke emotions, inspire thought, and connect individuals both to themselves and to the world around them makes poetry a very powerful medium for achieving a holistic well-being. I use poetry in my clinical practice to bring a modicum of relief to my patients, and they themselves enjoy it with gusto, remembering and reciting some of their favorite poems back. In my clinic, if patients come to see me, they have to be able to enjoy poetry. And the rapidly changing landscape of disease, it can be terribly disordered. Because no sooner do patients adapt to one reality, the next scan or the next blood count can change the outlook radically. And not just the patient, the family members, the caretakers, everyone feels equally bewildered by the dizzying, evolving ignorance. I experienced this with my own husband, director of the Cancer Center, received a diagnosis of cancer. That the very kind that he has spent his whole life trying to cure for. Our daughter was only 4 at the time. For the next 5 years, every decision I made, whether it was was arranging playdate for Scheherazade or planning a professional trip, everything was guided by the presence of this other in the C word. When is the next chemotherapy? What kind of the transfusion we arrange for? So can we dash to the parent-teacher conference after or before? But then after practically 5 years of this, he died one day. And even though his death was expected for years, he actually then brought a sudden, unbearable void. Everything became inexplicably empty for me. It seemed like the center was missing. It was stripped away, leaving a hollow silence. Worse still, it was the loss of an actor that kind of left me disoriented and reading. But then I read Emily Dickinson's poem, and it was shocking how well it was able to describe what I was feeling. I felt a cleavage in my mind as if my brain was split. I tried to match it scene by scene, but could not make that. The thought behind, I strove to join until the thought before, but sequence raveled out of reach like balls of fog. Just the mental distress can split the brain. Attempts at mending are futile because of the shifting realities. One of the messages is that the calm of resolution can never be expected. And just knowing and accepting that alone can be therapeutic because then one can let go. Knowing that others have been through similar ordeals can put a stop to an unwinnable battle created in the mind. There was comfort in recognizing that someone before me had known the feeling so well that they described it in such perfect words before me. Where our own souls are shattered, poetry can build a bridge back to reality and to sanity while letting us voice our feelings. Poetry lets us experience our suffering to the full, and that is the only way to heal, to regain a sense of well-being. But then, in a larger sense, we need this holistic well-being to navigate through the journey of not just disease, but of life itself. Where we are continuously plagued by deep pervasive anxiety arising from our search for security in an utterly random, utterly insecure world. Our struggle to find meaning, purpose, connection in a finite life amidst an infinite and indifferent universe. Nothing seems resolved. Life is literally a journey to resolution. Nothing in your life is going to be resolved. Of the greatest unresolved issue, four come to mind. First is love. How to love? No one has found a solution to this. Love is the best example of how little we are in touch with reality. Because if we go to fiction and read books or watch movies or anything like theater, dance, painting, they all lead you down a very dark alley. All love stories tend to end badly. No simple formula, no consensus about the best way to form and maintain an intimate relationship is being found. Should it be an arranged marriage? Should you live with someone for 5 years before deciding? These are questions that have remained completely unresolved. Love ever unsatisfied lives always in the moment that is about to come. The torment of unacknowledged love, where the lover's passion feels like madness, the beloved's eventual recognition of it would come as a shock. The emotional disparity between the two loves between the one who loves deeply and the one who remains unaware emphasizes the complexities of the bittersweet theme of love. Its ongoing anguish. Why divine kiye शौक मुझे आप जाना उधर और आप ही रहना। feel the madness of my passion. I go there and then I said, why दीवान दिए शौक मुझे आप जाना उधर आप भी मेरा. The problem of the heart will continue forever, according to Malik, because sometimes what feels like emotional pain or restriction is a defense against a more intense or overwhelming distress. तंग ये दिल का गिला क्या? ये वो काफिर दिल है. I love the word काफिर. तंग ये दिल का गिला क्या? ये वो काफिर दिल है कि अगर तंग ना होता. Why complain of the heart's narrowness? Such is the infidel heart. I love this infidel heart. Its only two states are constricted or troubled. Even the description of this issue, this madness, can be very problematic. Here's one of my all-time favorites, Azra Raza. वो इश्क जो हमसे रूठ गया, अब उसका हाल बताएं क्या? कोई महर नहीं, कोई बहर नहीं, फिर सच्चा शेर सुनाएं. एक हिजर जो हमको लाहक है, तादेर उसे दोहराएं क्या? वो जहर जो दिल में उतार दिया, फिर उसके नाज सुनाएं क्या? फिर आंखें लहू से खाली हैं, ये शम्में बुझने वाली. हम खुद भी किसी के सवाली हैं, इस बात पर हम शर्माएं. वो इश्क हमसे छूट गया. एक आग हमें तन्हाई की जो सारे बदन में फैल गई. जब जिस्म भी सारा जगता हो, फिर दामन दिल को बचाएं क्या? वो इश्क हमसे छूट गया, उसका हाल सुनाएं क्या? हम नगमा सरा कुछ हौसलों पे, हम सूरत गर कुछ ख्वाबों के, बेजज़्बे शौक सुनाएं क्या? कोई ख्वाब न हो तो बताएं क्या? वो इश्क हमसे छूट गया, अब उसका हाल सुनाएं. So love has remained an unresolved issue. The second unresolved issue, despite millennia of trying to resolve it, is parenting. No reductive universal formula exists to help you raise healthy, well-adjusted, creative, productive children. What can function as balanced? Who can function as balanced adults, successful in personal and professional lives? Siblings who share both nature and nurture because they have the same parents and live in the same house are usually more radically different from each other than strangers. So what is good going to be a parent for one child doesn't work for the other. Completely unresolvable issue. If we have no solution, think about it. For two of the most immediate issues like how to love and experience a joyful adult intimate relationship, and no solution for how to raise and live with our young ones. Is it any surprise that we have no idea how to live among strangers in a community? Every system we have tried has failed stupendously. Monarchy, oligarchy, autocracy, communism, socialism, liberalism, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, anarchy, everything has collapsed. And now we are seeing the breakdown of democracy all over the globe, with strong men gaining power to practice fascist agendas. Not in one country, from east to west, from north to south, in so many countries. So if all of these experiments have failed, what exactly is left for the future? What is the new order? I want to challenge the young people. What do you have in mind? Because we have failed miserably as adults. How are you planning to lead the charge in the future? And Nasir Fayyaz, the answer is not here. So we've done away with love, we've done away with care, we've done away with the community. The fourth and resolved issue is the absence of a universal Each time there seems to be a consensus developing with more and more people accepting a given knowledge. We see the appearance of drifts and sects within that religious orders, religion aside. In Islam alone, there are 72 plus sects. In Catholicism and in Christianity, how many sects exist now? In Judaism, how many different sects are there? We just can't seem to resolve any of these issues as you can. Everything you talk about, all of this since Nasir and Riaz gave me this time. Talk about the power of healing. And the question I'm asking all of you is what needs healing? Well, everything about us needs healing. How to fall in love needs healing. How to be a parent. What kind of community do we want to live? What religion should we want? All of this needs. Essentially, in our recorded history, we have been trying to find solutions to fundamental questions. And we have been spectacular in every area. The lack of answers is a serious cause for insecurity, anxiety, and our shared existential angst. Ask 5 people what the solution of this torment is, and you will get 10 different answers. The best was given by Freud. The only solution is that there is no solution. Herein lies the difficulty. We refuse to accept that there is no solution. We keep looking for solutions. We keep the blinders on. We want to remain deluded. We keep hoping for the living happily ever after ending. Freud, of course, meant that the acceptance of no solution is the only solution for real liberation. I think about it with my patients who have very little time left because they terminally ill. And you know what happens then? When you don't have a very far future to look at, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you don't have that vision anymore, then now becomes important. Every little gesture you do, every individual you meet, all the loves that, all the love you distribute, all this now becomes suddenly more poignant in everything. So just accepting the fact that I don't have that long to live makes everything very precious now that I have such a short time. Once you are liberated like this, you can live authentically within the inherent uncertainties, embracing the complexity of life, and finding meaning in the ongoing journey of self-discovery and adaptation. I wanted to speak tonight to young people. I'm so happy to see that all of you are here. Because these are the issues that you need to think about in a different way. Striving, learning, correcting along the way should become important. The journey should become important. Because the only Zen you are going to find on the top of the mountain is the Zen you brought with yourself. It's not something sitting there and waiting for you. It's a journey that's important. Life is about 30,000 days of stories, experiences, music, magic, joys, mixed with sorrows, disease, tragedies, disappointments, love, hate, the challenges to face each of these in the moment and go on. Here comes the role of poetry. Nicole Bouchard describes it so well. Poetry can take the most extreme emotions and bottle them like tinctures that can be used to heal the reader. It gives a voice to that which we need as human beings to express. I'll give you a few examples of this. There can be certain extreme griefs in life that can attack us like an endless, suffocating storm, where time warps, the world blurs, and every breath carries the weight of an unspeakable void. sorrow is so deep, its expression requires the invention of a new language. Emily Dickinson does just that. She, in the poetry, unexpectedly capitalizes words, or she adds dashes in to allow the reader to linger on particular ideas. This short poem is a superb example of an innovative approach as she writes about the end of a day that had brought unspeakable tragedy. It vividly captures the emotional turmoil and disorientation that can accompany an overwhelming. The first day's night had come, and grateful that the thing so terrible had been endured, I told my soul to sleep. She said her strings were wrapped, but go to atoms go. And so, remember, gave me was until another morning. And then, a day as huge as yesterday's in pairs. How beautiful is that? Yesterday's in pairs. Not, she didn't say as huge as 2 days. And then, a day as huge as yesterday's in pairs. Unrolled its horror in my face until it blocked my eyes. My brain began to numb. I mumbled like a fool, and though it's long ago that day, my brain is giggling still. Something's on within. Something's on within. That person that I was, and this one, do not feel the same. Is it madness? Yes. Dickinson captures the impact of a profoundly traumatic experience and the fragmented self that emerges in its aftermath. Surviving a harrowing event of such intensity shatters one so completely that it blurs the past and the present. The mind can only give, not even laugh at it. My mind is giggling still. The thin boundary between resilience and madness dissolves, such that only the perception of the world changes. The person they were once is now irretrievably lost, is not the same now after the dream. She writes this long poem about it, but here is a young man, when we from treatment, who says it in these 2 short lines. चलो मैं जिंदगी भी काट दूंगा, तो जिंदगी काटना है। चलो मैं जिंदगी भी काट दूंगा, अगर ये आज का दिन कट गया। Fine, I can even endure this life. This is not a big deal. But first, how do I survive this day? The same sentiment that Emily Dickinson says in a long poem, this boy has said in Cuba, चलो मैं जिंदगी भी कर, क्योंकि आज का दिन कट गया. All the stunning description of losing the self, enter a state of emotional disconnection and self-alienation. अपनी हालत का खुद एहसास नहीं है. अपनी हालत का खुद एहसास नहीं है मुझको. मैंने औरों से सुना है कि परेशान. I cannot sense how I am. I have heard from others that I am troubled. मैंने औरों से सुना है कि परेशान. This inability to comprehend our own turmoil results from an overwhelming inner struggle to face the trauma repressing it to the extent that it escapes our own awareness. Others have to point out the extent of this turmoil to us. Urdu poets have used certain recurring metaphors to explore human struggles and the tension between confinement and liberation. For example, Papas or cage and Sayyad or hunter evoke the themes of captivity, longing, the struggle for freedom that resonates universally with our existential dilemmas and spiritual aspiration. Here is one such shape. कफस में कोई अजियत नहीं मुझे सयार. There is no torment for me in the cage or hunter. कफस में कोई अजियत नहीं मुझे सयार. बस एक हश्र बाबा बालों पर रहता है. There is no torment for me in the cage or hunter, but my wings and feathers remain in constant turmoil. This is such a fabulous description of our existential angst. It doesn't allow us to sit back and relax. The physical cage of us does not directly torment, rather it's the restriction of the natural potential symbolized by wings and feathers, the unrealized dreams, the suppressed freedom, our stifled aspirations that are suppressed because of the sayyad or the hunter, symbolizing fate or society or the beloved. That's what this is all about, guys. The papas and sayyad, the cage, the hunter, it's telling us how our lives get constricted by all these things. This shape captures perfectly the tension between the limits of human endurance, the vastness of our desires, and the conflict between external peace and internal unrest. These are the human bondages that Somerset Maugham talked about in his great novel, Apprehending. Because questions such as the nature of being, the purpose of life, the reality of death, they don't have definitive answers. Poetry can help verbalize this complexity by refusing to provide a single clear resolution. Rather, poetry states or poses questions, leaving room for the reader to engage with the text in deeply personal ways. Processing the inner turmoil and working towards acceptance is the first step in the journey to healing. Both physical and spiritual healing have to start here. Here's another gorgeous shape from Bali, conveying the themes of this inner conflict, the tension between desire and the limitation placed on the desire, and even the deepest aspirations that can feel constrained in the face of life's controllable challenges. गिला है शौक को भी दिल में रंगिए जाकर. Shock or longing itself is frustrated in my heart by the narrowness of space. गिला है शौक को भी दिल में रंगिए जाकर. गोहर में महक हुआ, गोहर is the word, गोहर में महक हुआ इज़्तिराब दरिया का. Longing itself is frustrated in my heart by the narrowness of space, like trying to confine the turmoil of the ocean's unrest into a single word. Only poetry in 2 lines. What a macrocosm. The ambiguity of imagery, of symbols, or language can warn and evoke emotions and intuitions that transcend rational understanding, engaging the reader on a visceral level. Ambiguity allows poets to gesture towards the ineffable without being reductive, embracing paradoxes and contradictions, timelessness and universality. There's another beautiful Ghalib shape. जज्बे बेइख्तियारी शौक देखा जाए, सीने शमशीर से बाहर है दम शमशीर का. One should witness the uncontrollable passion of wronging. The breath of the sword is beyond the chest of the sword. The sword is curved like that. And the breath is that central part which is outside the sword. Because it's not the cutting part is the end. सीने शमशीर से बाहर है दम शमशीर का. And that is because of jazba in our shock or our desire is so immense and so out of control. It's like the cutting blade of a sword, also called its breath, its thumb, which is on the outermost part of the sword. The breath of the sword is beyond the chest of the sword. So these verses illustrate the healing power of poetry by expressing our longings, our yearnings, as well as the confining external forces and resulting turmoil created through these clashes. By leaving gaps in meaning, poets create space for readers to find their own truth, making exploration of existential questions deeply personal and deeply subjective. Human lives are drawn into divine mystery. Coming back full circle to the question that life is an endless journey to resolution, where clarity remains elusive, where questions far outnumber answers, where every definite answer gives birth to new doubts. The milestones we celebrate are fleeting, overshadowed by a vast unknown that stretches endlessly ahead. A cycle of unfinished thoughts and incomplete understanding. Even the most profound moments often leave behind an aftertaste of doubt, reminding us that nothing truly continues. In this paradox of striving without ultimate resolution lies the essence of life itself, the mystery of existence itself. In a world that often values speed, efficiency, and material success, it is the quiet, consistent acts of love that can truly enrich relationships and life itself. Life may involve grand goals and achievements, but the deepest fulfillment comes from the quiet, small gestures of love that speak directly to the heart. As I said, a mother fixing a child's hair in the subway, a grandparent gently tucking a strand of hair behind your ear as they talk to you, a sibling giving you the last bite of something they love, a child quietly holding your hand and they sense your existence. These are the beautiful moments that build trust, they deepen bonds, they create lasting memories. These are the threads that weave the fabric of the as and as they increase, that there is no resolution to life's cyclic problems, no resolution. Life builds and collapses repeatedly. And this is the natural order. He urges us to live in the present without being consumed by regret of the past or fear of the future. Focusing on the now, embracing life as it comes. Whether one needs to laugh or cry, experience emotions fully without hesitation or suppression. You should embrace the transient nature of life with acceptance, courage, and with presence. Presence of mind and presence of emotion. अब क्यों उस दिन का जिक्र करो जब दिल टुकड़े हो जाएगा और सारे गम मिट जाएंगे जो कुछ पाया हो जाएगा जो मिल न सका वो पाएंगे ये दिन ही पहला दिन है जो पहला दिन था चाहत का हम जिसकी तमन्ना करते रहे और जिससे हर दम डरते रहे ये दिन तो कई बार आया 100 बार बसे और उजड़ गए 100 बार लुटे और हर पाया अब क्यों इस दिन का जिक्र करो जब दिल टुकड़े हो जाएगा और सारे गम मिट जाएंगे तुम बहुत कदर से कर गुजरो जो होना है सो होना है कर हंसना है तो हंसना है कर रोना है तो रोना है तुम अपनी करनी कर गुजरो जो होगा देखा जाएगा. The The final words on this theme belong to God, reflecting on the inevitability of change and the futility of body. The share encourages a stoic approach, accepting both good and bad as inevitable, and finding peace in the realization that we cannot control everything. In essence, it is a call to embrace life's uncertainties with courage and calm, trusting that the universe will unfold as it should. रात दिन गर्दिश में है सारा आसमान, रात दिन गर्दिश में है सारा आसमान. The seven heavens are constantly moving. हो रहेगा कुछ न कुछ घबराएंगे. Something is bound to happen. Why worry about it? Thank you.
So much. Thank you. That was beautiful. I think you arrived by train. I don't know whether when you come into Coventry, I don't know whether anyone has seen that, but first thing you actually see getting off the train is a plaque by Philip Larkin. He's a poet born, well, not born, he was raised in Coventry. And I really like one of his, I noted it down, that's the Coventry connection. It says, what will survive of us is love. So, yeah, he's regarded as a very rude poet. In English literature, he's very direct, has makes taunts. If anyone has gone into the Coventry city center, there's actually a pub, the Philip Larkin. Seen that? So now that's what it's been reduced to. But is love, as you said as well, what will survive us? Is it bigger than us?
Simple answer is yes. Dante's whole Paradiso, the Divine Comedy, is basically created volume of it. The entire 33rd canto of the Paradiso, which is the last canto, is basically the whole thing in the universe only goes around the God. And that absolutely what it is.
But I think, therefore, I am. That differs from love being the centerpiece of the universe. I find that that is the difference between East and West. The perception in East, so Azish Kuveda Shudin it is through love that I found that I exist. That's one view of it. And the other view is when it regards, I think, therefore I am. What does Azra think?
Well, I'm a big Antonio DiMaggio fan who challenged the Cartesian idea of I think therefore I am. Because DiMaggio's whole book is written about Descartes' error. It's exactly what you said, that we only even think because of our emotions. And so it's wrong to say I think therefore I am, because thinking itself depends on how we think. And I tend to agree with you that in the West we have created this very stark contrast between Athens and Jews, between reason and passion, as if they are two completely separate, distinct entities. But they're not. For us in the East, it's a seamless transition between two. And perhaps that's why the age of reason never dawned on us, because we are always so involved in our emotions. But mixture of the two is what I think essential. And I'll give you an example that as a teenager, I read a book about cancer and became fascinated intellectually with the idea that within our bodies we give birth to a cell that lives forever. A cancer cell. It's immortal. And I said to myself, well, if we unlock the secrets of this cell, we can unlock the secret of aging. And the second thing that intellectually fascinated me was that if a body is considered a state, then cells are its citizens, and citizens have to follow certain rules. And one rule is that wherever a cell is born, it has to stay in that organ. A liver cell must stay in the liver, a brain cell in the brain, a lung cell in the lung. Only in one disease do they walk out of their organ to avoid in cancer. You know, a liver cancer can land up in the brain. A lung cancer can land up in the liver or the bones. How is that happening? How is this modernity coming to it? So these are the intellectual questions about cancer that drove me towards science and towards cancer research. But when I saw my first patient chaos as a third year medical student, then suddenly everything changed for me. And I, for the first time, understood the difference between curiosity and wonder. Curiosity is something when you're looking for explanations for something. But wonder is just the opposite feeling because with wonder, everything you thought you knew suddenly turned on its head. And you're left in a state of complete astonishment and bewilderment. And when I saw my first patients, this is what happened to me. That the suffering of a cancer patient in a third world countries in the 1970s, you cannot imagine because these poor people would travel hundreds of miles on donkey carts and backs of bullets. Why? Because they have to come to the city to be seen carrying fungulating masses of tumors arising from their bodies. You could smell cancer a block away. And once I saw that as a medical student, I knew that the rest of my life has to be spent in trying to reduce the suffering of these. But it was only when I joined this emotional aspect to my intellectual curiosity was I able to convert these two into a real quest for life. And I realized that without that emotional investment, it was all meaningless. Just the intellectual curiosity is not sufficient. And that is why I completely agree with you that until and unless we involve passion and emotion in what we are doing. My daughter is, Shahzad is young and she wonders about, what should I be when she was undergrad at Columbia University. Especially she would come home and say, Mommy, what happens if I don't find my spastic syndrome passion like you? I told her that, look, your choice of a career should be like your choice of a partner in marriage. Never marry someone you can live with. Only marry someone you can't live without. There's a big difference in the two. And the career should be that investment that you can't live without doing this. And that cannot come without passion. A cold intellectual curiosity is never going to get you there. So I tend to disagree with one thing you said that in the West we have this, or East we have that, because we are all the same. Both everywhere human beings are the same. The madness and passion is the same for everything. It's just we don't like to talk about it in the West. It's considered bad manners in a scientific conference to show emotions. And that's the difference. Not that they don't have the emotion. It's just a cultural difference that where can you express emotions and where you can't. But the quest, wherever it is, whether it's in Fargo, North Dakota, or Gundam, Pakistan, it's the same.
That I completely resonate with. So what I hear you saying is there must be love. And I think you never lost that sense of wonder that you experienced as from your first encounter with cancer, and you still carry that strong in your heart. It's very, I would say, wonderful to see that. I think one thing I always wanted to chat with you about is the connections between poets in the East and the West, right? So there's, as you said right now, we're all humans, we're all the same, we all pick on the same, I would say, mosaics or patterns or same tiles of emotion, and we build around that. So think of Ghalib. Are there parallels of Ghalib in the West? So what's your opinion of? By the way, for the audience, just for the benefit of the audience, Ghalib was a poet, is a poet. In the subcontinent, who wrote very extensively about what we call Gami Rozgar, the living everyday life of a person, and is one of the most famous and well-read poets in the Indian subcontinent. So my question to you is, who do you think is the closest cousin, literary cousin of Ghalib?
Shakespeare.
And we are in Shakespeare's country.
Shakespeare, I think, amazing.
Would you like to give any examples of what leads you to that conclusion? What parallels do you see between the two?
The thing is that when you read Shakespeare, every other line, oh, this is what Shakespeare do. Because we feel like we've grown up with all and they make so much sense to everything we say. I mean, and I tend to disagree with one thing you said about Malik that he wrote about everyday life. Malik wrote about essential mysteries of the universe. And that is why, like any great artisan, he cannot be dated. He's startlingly fresh for all times. His message is so universal, you can't reduce him into some nationality or some racial movement of some sort, nothing like that, because his concerns are the concerns of humanity. And that is why the concerns of Shakespeare or Dante, they are all concerns of this existential angst we have. You can have all the beauty, power, wealth, health, everything in the world. Do you think you'll be satisfied? No, there will be still something missing. And that something missing is what we call the reconnection with the deity, that we have been exiled from heaven and we've been thrown onto this earth and we can't wait. We just keep looking back to that reunion with the deity. And I think every great poet has really addressed the Azra Raza, the essential mysteries of our existence. Why are we here? Who are we? Where are we going? I mean, none of these things can ever answer that question. And that's what I tried to convey in my talk today, that what all the poets try to do for us is to bring us a modicum of relief by realizing that these are irresolvable issues. Let's pay attention to here and now. What are we doing? You're sitting in this talk. Pay attention to the talk. You're sitting here. Think about just that. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm missing this breakfast or that. Nothing. Just be here and enjoy this moment. And that's the whole purpose of, I think, poets do it very well because we can use 25 words or less to convey such profound meaning. So I hate comparing poets, so I hope you don't mind.
No, there's no comparison as you perfectly. I think there's again that unison of the two, was union of the two. I was just thinking if someone can make an AI that would just link up poets, perhaps. I don't know whether that would be possible. How can we draw parallels between what Ghalib has said and what Shakespeare says? Do you think science, as being in a unique position where you do science, you do oncology, and then you are also very well versed in poetry, do you think the same level of permanence that we associate with the uniformity of like universality of human nature or human connections to these unsolved questions of the universe, that they're going to remain the same, and hence we always say that a poet says. We don't say a poet used something that a poet said in the past is not valid today. It lives on. So poetry is alive, even though it was written about 300 years ago, or 500 years ago, or 1,000 years ago. Science, on the other hand, changes. That I like that from science. But do you see the same difference between the two? What are your thoughts on that? On the transition or transitional nature of science versus the permanence of poetry?
That's a very lovely question, by the way. I haven't thought about it, but now that you ask, I've always felt the difference between the arts and science is art is I, and science is we. A Van Gogh can stand and paint the Starry Night all by himself, but science you can't do without having the benefit of you're standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, for me to do one experiment requires the infrastructure to be there, which is built on thousands and thousands of people. So, if science is evolving and changing, you're absolutely right. And one of our tragedies is that our emotion that we have developed this godlike technology, cutting and pasting DNA, the AI, and all this, is literally godlike technology. But it has to be combined now with our Paleolithic caveman emotions, which have not changed at all since we were living in the cave. They are the same. And now this lethal combination is made worse still by the breaking infrastructure everywhere, medieval approaches to everything. I feel sometimes like we are living in the dark ages. That 200 years from now, think of what those people are going to think of us. This is the darkest stage where we can't resolve the simplest of our issues. We're killing each other over what? How many thousands of people are being killed every day? Whether it's in the West or the Middle East or the East, everywhere it's the same story. And so I think this is one of the real problems. That science keeps advancing, but the emotions are the same. I think you put your finger exactly on the problem.
And you think that poetry can help us connect, get better, perhaps, be better humans?
I think let's not assign too much power to poetry. But for different people, it's different things. For me, it's poetry because I'm a reader. I like the word. The written word means things to me, and I feel moved by poetry. Let me give you another example of this. I measure every grief I meet. Now, the word of measure, measuring grief, makes you think. I measure every grief I meet with analytic eyes. I wonder if it weighs like mine or has a different size. I wonder if they had it long or did it just begin. I cannot find the date of mine. It's been so long for me. I wonder if it hurts to live and if they have to try and whether could they choose between they would not rather die. Now, to me, these words are so, they transport me into a different realm. But for my daughter, for example, it may be music that moves her and transports her to cloud nine. So, what we are saying is that with science, you are trying to figure out the how of things. How is cloning done? How is molecular question answered? But with the humanities, with the arts, with poetry and music, we try to understand why should we do it? Why is there a desire? So the how and the why has to be combined together. And that's where I think the art and science. But in the final analysis, to assign such vast power and credibility to poetry alone, I don't think would be fair.
Very practical and very realistic. A personal question, perhaps. You talked about your start of your wonderful interaction with cancer and the study of cancer. How did you start with poetry? Where did it come from?
I think First of all, it's the environment in which I grew. My parents had grown up in India. And then at the time of partition, they landed from Lucknow and we were in Karachi, which is a desert of sin. And here they had come from a culture that had goes back 1,000 years, and suddenly they find themselves in the desert. And they had the immigrant's anxiety that, oh my God, if we don't teach our children who are going to be born here in this country, if we don't teach them some of the ethos that we grew up with, some of our cultural heritage, how are they going to learn anything? And so that immigrant's anxiety, we are the beneficiaries of it because that allowed the children to then benefit from our parents, making sure that we were able to, at least because they grew in an oral culture, and so reciting poetry and you know, appreciating some of these minor things was a sign of civilized, being civilized and being cultured. I mean, the acme of high culture from where my parents came was for a man to aspire towards gentleness. Any show of virility or any show of machismo was considered crude and crass. The more gentle a man, the more cultured he was. My father never raised his voice because that's the way they had grown up, and they were so anxious to impart this to the children. That's number one. But why me out of 7 children became more obsessed with one thing than the rest of them? That I think I have no explanation for it, but I found it very moving. And I continue to read more and more all the time. So my parents made us memorize things, but as I grew older and suddenly understood the meaning of that and could apply it to my own experience, to myself, to what was going on around me, it acquired a different meaning. Oh my God, but this is what is so profoundly said in these 30 years by so and so. This makes me takes me into a state of ecstasy.
So short answer, what I hear you saying is, you fell in love with it.
Yes.
There was no reason. Okay, good to know. Can I request you to recite a ghazal and possibly translate it for our audience here that has had a profound impact? For example, in your interactions with patients, with healing, or anything. Would love to hear you recite any of Khalib or whoever else.
Sure. I'll be happy to do that, but should we answer a couple of questions?
We're going to come to the questions after two more
And then
chapters.
I'll just say, no,
Oh, I didn't. I lost track of time. Just gonna do that quickly. So, a couple of verses, and then we're gonna open up the questions. That's okay.
now, then, what do you want me to recite?
Whatever you like, especially anything that can resonates with your interactions with patients, like I said, all the musicality of it. It's up to you.
Well, the thing is that I recite a lot of poetry in my clinic, as I said, and students and patients all the time. But there is, as you said, there is a rhythm to the poetry. There's a musicality to it. So I'll just end by reciting a very long music, which is just see the rap in it. Like it's there's a rapping here. This rapping is from 100 years ago. थाई सी गुलशन शादाब में रहती कि बड़ी उस पे नजर भूल गया अपने को बैठ गया थाम के जानू मगर उसने न नजर की तलब को रंग से बेचैन गमों दर्द का मारा मैं ही सोच क्यों हमने उसे दिया दिल ठिकाना मेहंदी में कामे जिसे आता नहीं आता तो हम उससे खाना जिसे दिल में ये गाना जिसे देखना है जमाना खुदे बेमहर तकाबाज जब पेश मिजाज से कम खाना बरंदाज और जिसका नाज तो जब बाकारी में माहिर जिसे कम पेशे से कम दर्ज से आती नहीं पर समझना नहीं चाहा तसल्ली को न समझे तसल्ली को न जाने कि करे और पूरा करे काम अधूरा यही दिन रात तस्वीर है कि ना हम उसे चाहा जो ना आए न बुलाए न कोई बढ़ाए न जाए न कोई बात बताए तो कुछ भी खपा हुए शिकवे की जरूरत देना चाहोगे तो क्या है पाओगे तो क्या है बहुत इतराव ना दिल देती है किस काम का दिल है जो मैं चाहूँ अभी रख दूँ उसे तरफों से मुसर अभी यूं देखते रह जाओगे तो हुआ क्या मेरा
So I'm not gonna ask her to translate. It was there for the rap itself. So yo. Thank you so much, Professor Azra Raza. It's been a pleasure having you, the audience. If you have any questions, anything you would like to ask, we can do that briefly. Nasir, how much time do we have? I think we should keep the audience a little bit of time. If that's okay, that's okay.
Yes.
Last question. Yeah. Hi, Azra. This is Mustafa. First of all, it's an honor to have you here. Really glad to and a pleasure to have you here and enjoy the talk. I wish we have this kind of stuff more often. So, one thing that has resonated with me a lot during the talk was talking about existence. I know myself as an existentialist, or one that doesn't know how to pronounce it often. Anyway, and to me, life is the most important thing that anyone can have, right? And based on this belief system, when you think about death and when someone is sad about dying, is because they have life unlived. If you don't live your life, when you're going to die, when they tell you you're going to die, you'll be sad about it because there was a party that you never enjoyed it. You know you don't have any time to do that. And obviously I can imagine that it's very sad for a cancer patient to hear that, and you most often, I'm not sure if, I mean, you do, you are in contact with many of these patients, obviously. So I know it's very hard to teach them this, and maybe of no use to teach them this that way, but obviously there are so much relief, as in maybe the short time that they have to use, maybe a year, few months or anything. I wonder, like, how often in your experience patients accept this? Like, how often they would say, okay, I have 6 months, let me enjoy these 6 months instead of, you know, going through all the horrible, you know, treatments that they can have. And also, these are a few things that are cut up from your book too. Are you allowed to tell them this? Are you allowed to say, well, you have this option, but I recommend you not to do that. Instead, just go on trip. So what's the percentage of acceptance of this within your patients? Thank you.
You know, Mustafa, you raised a very important issue here. And I want to answer it by simply saying that I'm treating patients who have no cure and giving them horrible chemotherapies. But if I had this disease today, you know what I would do? Take the same treatment, even though there is no cure. You know why? Because I'd rather die of the treatment than die of the cancer. That's a horrible death. Very painful. Extremely painful to die of cancer. You don't see it anymore because we don't let that happen. We radiate it, we give chemo, we give palliative treatment. It's called palliative. So it isn't like we are giving patients, you have 6 months left, go enjoy your life. There is no enjoyment. it's all horrible pain coming. And so which is better? The option we give them is die of the cancer or die of the treatment. I would take the treatment. And these are the issues that are killing me all the time. That why are these the only choices? We need better solutions. And you guys all need to come to my talk tomorrow to see the better solution.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. I'm crashing out the plan attack and I worked with the office. On side, like really nice to speak to you. My question here is like, I was reading Louise and she cured herself from cancer with positive affirmations. Do you think we have so much healing power that we can also cure our own self and coming in this as the world is moving more towards spirituality and the energy healing is stronger? So what are your thoughts about healing done through, like you said, there's a difference between healing and cure. But do you think in the coming generations, cure and healing can be one with your power of mind?
I don't think so at all. Let's not delude ourselves into thinking that any cure will come from thinking about it or feeling about it. No. But thinking positively and feeling empowered gives you the resilience of the spirit to face what's coming. And that is very important. And that's where anything, poetry or prayers, magic, whatever can be. Many patients ask me that, do you believe in prayers? I go, yes, absolutely. Because prayers may not help a God, but they help the person who's praying. And that's very important. And I think that you can't cure a disease, but you can heal the disease. You can heal the person who's facing that disease, giving them the courage and the strength to face what's coming. I love all these questions. These kids are very simple. Yes.
Hi, Professor. Thank you so much for sharing. Really, really important again. My name is Brian from Singapore. One of the things that I'm very curious about in your journey is what are the top three words that you hear a lot from patients? As I mentioned, you will see a man, the cost of man. Last week there was a poetry that one of the patients had noticed something that is resonating deeply in the heart. If you just share that with us, I think that would be really, really good.
A poem that some patient recited back to me. You know, one of the poems that somebody memorized because I can recite that. It's so beautiful what patients can do for you. Not long ago, maybe last year, I was having a very uncomfortable talk with a patient on whom I had done a bone marrow biopsy and how I had the results and it wasn't looking very good. So she was there in the room, she had brought a friend and her husband to provide some moral support when she was going to get the results of the marrow. So obviously for the next hour we had a conversation that was difficult, going back and forth about what it meant, etc. At the end of it, you know what she said? She got up and she hugged me. She said, I feel so badly for you, Dr. Raza, that every day you must be having these conversations. How do you go home and sleep? I worry about you, she said. I mean, think of what that means. I was so moved by it. And I read this short poem to her, and she memorized it and recited it back to me. So that's what I tried to do. Because one of the problems I had when I was young, which is 100 years ago, was how to make that mean. And this is where the help came from this poem. Tell all the truth. So this admonition right there, you have to tell the truth. You can't lie, you can't give false hope, you can't delude people. Tell all the truth. but tell its dawn, success in circuit lights, too bright for our infirm delight, the truth superb surprise. Like lightning to the children, eased with explanations kind, the truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be. Does that make sense to you? Like lightning to the children, eased with explanations kind, the truth must dazzle gradually, or every man.
Yeah, it reminds me of some paper reviews that we received. So kind.
So congratulations.
I want to recite a shade for Mustafa.
Yes.
Because I love Persian poetry. I read authors a lot, and this is something so beautiful. Maybe you know it, but the way I'm going to recite it, it will sound like it's Urdu, and you won't understand it. So I'll
try.
translate it. Khabaram Rasid Insha ke nigar khwaniya Sare man fidae rahe ke sawal khwaniya. There is the news that she is the beautiful one is going to come. The news is she is going to come riding on a horse. Khabaram Rasid Insha. Tonight she is going to come. In Nigar Fahiyana, Sare man fidoe rahe ke sawar Fahiyana. Hama ahwan sehra, Sare khud nihada badka, Ba ummeed aanke doosi bashkar Fahiyana. The deer in the forest have taken off their heads already and they are holding them up in the faint hope that she may want to hunt. This is what love is all about. And this is what moves the universe. And this is why you are here tonight. This is why I am here tonight. Because my love for Fayaz and Nasir and all of you. And I wanted specifically, I spent a lot of time writing this talk tonight because I wanted to address the young people, to give them the courage and the resilience spirit. Do not be afraid of all the naysayers and all the bad news people keep giving them. No, the future is very bright. It is in your hands. You can make it happen, and you must. For us, you must. So I'm delighted. I would say I'm so thankful for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Tomorrow there's going to be a talk by Professor Raza on her scientific work. What time, Adam?
10 o'clock.
10
to 11. Yeah.
It is advertised by the TIA seminar page. It's okay. We also have Professor Raza's books on, so there's a book called The First Cell that talks about how she thinks cancer should be handled. And it's a very fascinating read. All of you work on holistic pathology, so if you want to take a look at that, there's also the epistemology of beauty. Elegance. Yes, the epistemology of elegance. Yes, and that is her translation of Ghalib, which I find really, really inspiring, and it's a very beautiful translation. So if you want to read that, that's her other book. All of them are available via Amazon and other services. I think your website is also available online, and please take a look. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I would like Nasir to come and present it. It's very small, you see, but it is Shakespeare. So, Nasir.
So since we are in Shakespeare, we need all the way, and we want to talk really quickly, and we'd like to leave you with this little gesture from us. Thank you so much for coming and enlightening us with your time.